Welcome back to Studio A. Today we're looking at getting started with Windows 10 for IT Professional. I had a brain fart for a second. I had to check, make sure I was doing the right session. We are up to Module 3, and today in Module 3 we're going to talk about runtime provisioning in Windows 10. So, Anthony, what are we talking about here with Windows 10 provisioning?
So you mentioned about this earlier in terms of the amount of different ways that you can actually deploy Windows 10 into your organization. And one of the great ways being introduced into Windows 10 is via provisioning. One of the things that IT professionals worry about the most when doing deployments, oh no, again I got to reimage all these machines. Oops, went too fast. Oh no, I got to reimage all these machines. I got to go through all this time. Oh, there's a cost. Maybe I deploy System Center. Our organization is not big enough to do so. I don't have that cost. Complexity. There's so many certificates that I have to add for secure application utilization. There's so many applications that have to go to specific divisions and cannot be spread company-wide. How much time is this going to take for me to deploy all the solutions? I just finished the Windows 7 deployment because we were late on coming off of XP, so now I have to do it again for 10. Yeah, we've heard all of those before. So the main thing is people are asking, is there an easier way to deploy this? So runtime provisioning to the rescue. This is new with Windows 10. This configures off-the-shelf devices with the provisioning required for the organization, for the department, without re-imaging the device. That's a huge time saving. Take a device out of the box, and I say device meaning tablet, laptop, phone. You know what I mean?
So take it from an OEM device to an enterprise
Correct.
image.
And it might not even be an enterprise image. It can also be a kiosk image. So we've seen a lot of scenarios now where tablets are being used to enhance the retail experience, as an example, or to have a specific task for automation on package delivery or you name it. Even those devices being provisioned with the software required, enabling it into a kiosk mode, putting the Wi-Fi profiles and email profiles, if required, for said device, all automated through provisioning. In a lot of scenarios, do not require a network connection. You have no connectivity requirements in regards to this, and it's simple enough to be used by employees. This is a huge beneficial aspect of this in that it alleviates IT professionals in terms of pushing out images or setting up scheduling or scripting for this. You can enable the users to self-provision their devices, which is pretty cool. Very cool. And do it in such a way where it doesn't affect IT as, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do this?
Yeah.
Right?
So menu driven, pick and choose what you need, and
you got it. So when to use provisioning? If you're configuring a device in deployments without MDM. So not all organizations have MDM deployed. If that is the case, here's a great way to do it. Also, automating, you can automate the enrollment of said provisioning via MDM. And again, it's Intune or any other MDM provider that you have out there via the domain being pushed out by Windows Server 2012 R2 or through Azure Active Directory. Also, this is a great mechanism to ensure compliance. I want to make sure that what's being provisioned on the devices is per the compliance regulations of my organization, right? Not just a free-for-all. So how does this work? You talked about this earlier in the module. In essence, you're taking the settings, the profile of the individual or profiles of the individuals per department, per team, attaching the assets to this image to create the provisioning package. Once the provisioning package has been created, it can be referenced by a URL. So you can, in essence, email it to somebody, and they click on the link, and it provisions said device.
So what do you go back?
Sorry?
So what do you mean? So let's just be more precise for our audience here. When we talk about assets, what are we talking about specifically?
So we're talking about applications. We're talking about specific documents that may be required in terms of...
So files you want to include in the image, wallpapers, certificates, application, anything that can be or available offline.
Yeah, and they can be segmented too. So if there's, let's say, as an example, you brought up wallpaper, I can have the wallpaper package as a specific package. I know of a lot of devices in kiosk mode that run the singular application. If somebody finds a way to revert back to the desktop, it will have the image of the company, let's say, right? And have that as a separate package that can be changed on the fly, negating the need to actually change the package as a whole.
Yeah, I just wanted to be a bit more precise as to what we meant by we say profiles plus assets.
Yeah. Thanks for calling that out. So in terms of applying the package, we talked about this earlier, network connectivity is not required. If you do not have an MDM, you don't have the way to provision said device, a lot of kiosk devices sometimes run this way, you can actually simply deploy a package to a device, again, Windows device, by tapping the Windows button 5 times. So on your Surface, on your certain tablets, on your phone, literally at boot, you're tapping it 5 times.
During boot or after it's booted?
During boot. So during boot, tap on it 5 times, and you can then invoke the provisioning mechanism. And then you can use removable media, so SD cards, micro SD cards, USB, on desktop and mobile, or NFC, which is an interesting one in that I can go and have an NFC touchpad on a desk in a common area. And when they click on that, again, by identity, what access are they allowed on said device?
That's fantastic.
Right? So during the runtime, too, you can do a deployment in regards to the package file being accessed via an email, or local storage, so pointed to a local storage, media, again, being loaded on the device, or the URL. On mobile, you also have the additional availability of tethering via USB. So taking a USB cord, plugging it into your laptop, tablet, PC, and pushing the image that way.
And that PPKG file is really what we mentioned in the Module 1 when we showed you the designer app that's coming with the ADK for Windows 10.
Yep. The last aspect of this too is actually having the PPKG file attached in the embedded image. So when the image is deployed on said devices, that's attached and automatically provisions itself on boot. So just an example of the runtime experience. So I booted up the device and I tap on the Windows key 5 times. And then it gives me a listing. So provisioning. I'm doing a provisioning via NFC in this respect. If I had removable media, I would select the removable media, and I would have all the packages that are made available to me on said device that I have available to deploy. If I wanted to provision after the fact, so now the device is booted up, it's created, it's set it, I have the factory image on the device, or I have made changes to the device and I still want to deploy said packages, I can still go into the settings of the device and then have access to the provisioning packages available to me to then load on my device.
That's cool.
In a USB tether scenario, I have the ability to again push out said images. In essence, you're just copying it from your repository right on your device.
Well, your phone becomes like a removable drive that you just drop the package on it and then run it.
And what's great about that too is that you actually have the ability to, hey, is this a trusted source? Am I supposed to be loading this package on my device? Maybe it's not, so cancel it. If it is, add it. And again, your identity safeguards yourself in regards to, can you actually run this package?
Not only that, but as we mentioned also in Module 1, when you're designing the package, you can include certificates and digital signatures to your package to then ensure that when you get to the provisioning part on the device itself, if you're not the one that's doing it, then that there's a pop-up and say, do you trust this device? If it's not signed and not encrypted, well, you may want to question where it came from.
Correct. In terms of managing the packages, so let's say this device is a BYOD device and I'm no longer with the organization, so I'm going to remove a package from said device. Or the MDM solution that I've deployed removes said package from the device. Removing that package removes all the attachments in terms of that package, in terms of settings, applications, and data. That allows then the end user to be alleviated of all the organizational information that was made available on the device, and also obviously safeguards the organization in regards to removing said data from the device. There's also the ability for bulk enrollment. So, we've talked about the one-offs, but what about when you have 20, 30, 50 devices that you're deploying plus, right? In larger scale organizations, also have the capability of having that package deployed through a multitude of devices through MDM or through System Center. What's also great about this is the consistent interface that's made available, again, on the Windows platform in regards to, regardless, mobile device, smartphone, tablet, PC, It's great because of the fact that that experience is familiar to the end user. And if you're doing self-provisioning for end users, once they've done one device, they'll know how to do the rest.
Yeah, and it's not just for the users, but in terms of, we talked about this multiple times today, is corporate knowledge or corporate know-how. If you've got junior IT guys and they know how to do it on their phone, now they do it on it's the same experience, it's the same everywhere. It's kind of a unified experience that makes it so much simpler across the entire organization.
And we are in a mobile-first era now, right? And so that simplicity and that carryover to the desktop makes it a lot easier for provisioning as a whole, right?
Yep.
So what can be provisioned? There's a lot, right? We're going to go into detail, but just top of mind for me, management enrollment of what I can and cannot access, universal or Win32 apps, enterprise policies, what I can and cannot access amidst my organization, even start menu customization. That's a big deal. We've heard a lot of feedback that, I want to customize the experience on said device. How do I do that? And that can be provisioned right out of the gate on the device at start. So really quickly, addition, upgrade. Hey, I'm upgrading from Pro to Enterprise.
Yep.
I can do that via the package provisioning. Initial setup. So what the name is going to be for said computer when it comes onto my network. What to hide at first run. Local accounts and usernames. If I want to have a local admin account on said device, maybe I'm deploying it in kiosk mode and I would have that requirement. Management enrollment. Can this device connect to the domain? Is it allowed to connect to the domain? Can I use Azure Active Directory for said device for that capability? Do I require a password or can I use a certificate as well? Universal apps. Can I access said universal apps on said device? Or can I, on what device can I access it on? Win32 scripts, so am I deploying an MSI package? Am I running specific PowerShell scripts to enhance my experience or to enable some sort of functionality? Running a headless script as well for setup. Yep. All can be pushed down through the package as well. And the configuration policies made available under the hood, can also be enabled as through, being pushed out via MDM and using the WICD tool as a provisioning engine. Or in an Exchange server active sync client enablement, a little bit lighter in terms of its capability, but all are available in terms of configuration service providers for policies, Wi-Fi, profile, you name it.
Yeah, and it's important, I think, to mention that for MDM or Exchange servers, in terms of Active Sync client or MDM client, you can either pull or push.
Yep.
As opposed to when you're creating that package using the WICD or the Windows Imaging Configuration Designer.
There you go.
That's a long one. This is a push.
Yeah.
So you create it once, but it's not something that the user can pull back into it. So
correct.
This is a one-way thing.
And in both other scenarios, the fact that I can change the packaging on the fly,
yeah.
And then it implements the new packaging as required,
okay.
Right? Another availability in terms of package deployment is encryption of said package. We've talked about it before, the ability for malware to sometimes make it on said devices. You don't want the package to be infiltrated and somebody to grab that package and try to load it on another device. You can actually encrypt the package via password or certificate that is issued by your organization to secure said package to ensure that only people that are authorized are able to deploy the package on the device.
Yeah, because we already mentioned that the package itself, that PPKG file,
yep.
Can be put offline. So you can have it on the USB key. And how many of us have lost USB keys? I know I was at Ignite not too long ago, and I must have found, I think it was 8 or 9 of them around the expo floor. Somebody reaching into their pocket, key falls out. Well, what happens if that key or that package is on the key?
Yep.
If it's not encrypted, somebody can go in there. If you had files that you encrypted as part of your assets,
yep.
then those files would be at risk. Encryption, always a good thing.
100%.
Always a good thing.
There's also the ability for digital signing of said package. So in provisioning, Again, we talked about packages being stolen from the device. What about if somebody's trying to put in a package on the device or create malware amidst the package? You can also invoke digital signing to ensure that only the required applications or settings that have been approved and digitally signed are able to install on said device. So it's not a free-for-all, hey, somebody's downloaded or gone to this link and all of a sudden a provision package shows up on the device. You can set forth the policy to say only if it's digitally signed can it be deployed on the device. So in terms of managing the devices, if you have your MDM deployment in place, you have the ability to disable packages and not allow certain packages to be installed. You can also allow or disallow the manual deletion of packages. Maybe I don't want a package to be deleted because it'll cause issues in terms of running specific applications.
Well, not only that, but you want to make sure that if the packages is there due to compliance issue, for example, that you don't want the user to be able to remove it because it's for compliance.
Yes, exactly. Right? The installation of new packages as well as updating content on new packages can also be pushed. And optionally, when a device is reset, the packages itself are kept on the device. So when it comes back online, it reprovisions all the required settings and applications without the involvement of IT. In terms of troubleshooting, there is an application on mobile which is called FieldMedic, which will allow to capture said information should a provisioning fail, and then report back to IT as to why it failed. On the desktop, there's the Windows Performance Recorder application, which does a very similar task, in essence capturing, hey, what happened when the package tried to deploy it and it failed. Also, you can read the logs using the Windows Performance Analyzer, which will also give you details in regards to, hey, why did this fail?
Yeah, and most of these tools and processes is something that you should be going through with sampling of the devices that you're going to use in your environment in lab to make sure that if there are issues with a certain type of hardware and a certain type of devices, or maybe it's just a driver or God knows what it could be, to actually just be able to run those field medics or that performance recorder, figure this out, adjust your package before you roll it out to the rest of your enterprise.
So in what scenarios would you utilize provisioning? Here's a couple of examples. New employee. I have a new employee setting up a new device. If it's a BYOD or choose your own device, CYOD, or a corporately owned device, hey, employee's coming in, I'm going to upgrade his or her edition to enterprise. I'm going to change the computer name because it's a requirement for our organization. Set up the Wi-Fi profile, set up the email profile on the device. I'm going to start an application that'll run additional functionality. I can do this via distribution of a USB stick, NFC, you name it, right? Another scenario, actually experienced this on the plane ride down to Redmond. Whereas, again, in kiosk mode, so we have devices here that perform a specific task, which is transaction handling via credit card. So I'm provisioning these devices to specifically handle credit card transactions and nothing else.
Yep.
So in essence, locking them into kiosk mode and ensuring that that's all the functionality that they do, and setting up the specific profiles for connectivity, as well as the application itself to run solely on this device. Having the ability, we talked about this in terms of BYOD, so maybe I'm not going to change the computer name or not going to change the device name. I'm only going to set up the certificate on the device, set up the email and Wi-Fi and VPN profiles on said device, and security policies and line of business apps.
Yeah, so basically making that machine know enough about your environment to actually connect and be functional.
Correct. And this can be easily done, again, via email attachment. So I can actually take the package file, attach it to an email, and send it to the individual, or via URL that I just have them click on, and away you go. Or creating a persistent configuration by embedding a package in the image. So when the device boots up for the first time, this image is automatically deployed, or the provisioning is automatically deployed on said image. That installs, the certificates, the assigned access. A lot of times this is pretty much for kiosk mode for a device that does a specific task, but can be done for a plethora of solutions or requirements that are needed to fulfill. Can be automated through MDM enrollment as well. So I can actually, if the devices are connected, and I do have a scenario where the devices are connected, I can actually push out this enablement so that the device automatically provisions.
And for IT Pro, it's important to note that by embedding your package with all your assets and your keys and your certificates, everything else into your image, so it becomes your de facto gold image. So you could do bulk deployment, push out that image. Let's say you just purchased another 300 tablets, line them up and install on all of them, and so you don't have to have customized installation for each.
Well, imagine you have a shop floor with so much machinery on it, and I just do a massive deployment in kiosk mode to all these devices that are providing me information back in terms of the process plants and how well the machinery is running, right? In one fell swoop, I'm upgrading all the devices to the newest package to adhere to possibly a new driver or to quicken the processing time of specific, whatever I'm creating amidst that business.
That's great.
Next steps, you're grabbing the Windows imaging and configuration tool and grabbing the Windows 10 ADK to create your provision packages, right? And to test out your runtime experience. You can test it out today. You can test that out today in a VM, right? And trial your packages before you do deployment, which is.
Or if you have hardware laying around, you can do it in the hardware too.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is it for Module 3. So stay tuned and come back. We're going to be doing Module 4 in just a few minutes. And stay with us.